Okay, so in today's video about Quant, I want to check out this move down right in here and tell you why in this area I'm potentially seeing some bullish signs, and also it seems like that some whales slowly but surely are actually buying QNT right around the lows. So with that said, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you are having a great time with your family and loved ones. And before we start today's video, I need to tell you that tomorrow I'm going to, I would say, probably put out the most important video for my members, and in it I'm going to tell them about some investment opportunities for the future in and also outside of the crypto market. So if you want to have access to those informations, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. Let's get on with our video and see what is going on. Okay, if you remember, the last time that we talked about Quant, we were somewhere around, I believe, these areas, and I was saying, look, this can actually be an impulsive structure on the upside, and the fact that in this move we actually reached to about here is definitely a good sign. Now, if you want to be bullish with a bit more confidence, I would argue you need to wait a bit more and see QNT getting a break of this important region between, let's say, 126 to about $130. But if you want to know what is happening in like very short term, then okay, I believe it was in the previous video that I told you what happens after a 5-wave up. You know it if you are a regular viewer. If the bottom is in, we are going to have at that point a correction, a structure on the downside. That's why I argued back then we are going to get a move down in QNT soon. And if the move down is going to be indeed a correction structure, it can definitely be a good sign suggesting the bottom is in, because at that point we can say, look, hopefully in Quant we are going to have 5-wave up into a wave 1, correction for wave 2, and what's going to happen next according to this scenario? Well, probably a huge move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. So the question for today's video is this: do we have some correction structure in this area or not? Well, you see, it's kind of hard to say, but if I want to bet on whether we are going to have a correction in here or not, I would actually like to argue that this might be very well a correction structure. Here is why. I'm thinking this is an impulse, this is another impulse, this is another one, and another one. Now, the fact that in the short term, in this move on the upside in Quant, we actually took this side, okay, it probably means that overall, these waves right in here are going to be on the same degree. So the question is, how can I find an impulsive structure and at the same time a corrective movement, and which scenario is going to be my primary possibility? You see, the primary scenario, in my opinion, should be the one that I'm able to identify it much easier and better. And from my point of view, this seems like actually a corrective movement, because we are constantly having in these moves on the upside just overlapping of the waves, which is a characteristic of a correction structure. And what kind of a pattern am I thinking right about now? We can have different possibility, but here is what's going on in my mind. Let's zoom in more and go around here. Okay, I'm gonna say, because this is a relatively deep move on the downside, when you compare to this move up, it might be a WXY in form of a double zigzag. Here is our first ABC down. This is a correction structure on the upside, potentially an ABC flat, and then we may have from this side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a correction for wave B, and another move down into our C leg in order to complete the sub waves for, you know what, a WXY in form of a double zigzag. Now, what is going to be our bearish scenario in QNT? That suggests that maybe from this side, this is 1, this is 2, this can be our wave 3, and then this is a correction structure into wave 4, and followed by that we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down into our wave 5. But I'm not really a big fan of this scenario. Personally, I think the previous possibility suggesting we are having a WXY, a corrective movement in here, is for now at least more likely. Now, in like very short term, in this move up right in here, what can we identify? I'm gonna say it. Let's go actually on 5-minute chart so we can see the patterns a bit better. This might be a wave 1, correction for wave 2, big move up into wave 3, correction for 4, another move up into wave 5. And followed by that, I'm gonna say it because this is actually an impulsive structure. There's a good chance that this move might be a correction, maybe like an ABC or maybe a WXY, and soon after this move down is over, we can expect at least another move on the upside. Now, a very, very important sign suggesting that we are indeed dealing with a bullish scenario in QNT in this area is if we take in this move up this high right in here about $123. So if for the next 2-3 days you see something like this happening in QNT, that's actually going to be a fantastic sign suggesting potentially the bottom is in and we are indeed having in here a bullish setup. But again, if you do not want to be involved in any kind of short-term price action, just wait a bit more and see, are we going to get a break of this very important resistance or not? If we get it, at that point, we are going to be able to be bullish with a hell of a lot of more confidence. Now, let's just zoom in more and maybe go on daily time frame. Excuse me. Okay, what do we see in terms of volume? This chart is from QUANT and not a whole lot is happening in here. For example, if I just zoom in, okay, we are seeing that in this candle in daily time frame, we are seeing a relatively decent spike of volume, but nothing really special. The same situation also is happening in Binance. However, in Coinbase, the story is a bit different. Let's go on Coinbase's chart and zoom in more. Okay, so you see, we do not have the spike of volume in this candlestick anymore, and instead, it's actually right in here around the lows. Do we have some more examples? If I just zoom out a bit more, the answer is yes. You see, in this move down in QNT, in these 3 candlesticks, we have actually a good amount of buying volume coming in. So what's the message in here? I'm gonna say probably there are some whales in Coinbase buying. And recently, I actually saw this picture on Twitter. If I just go on this one, there we go. It seems like that a whale did actually buy about 3,000 QNT tokens. And the important point is this, they actually transferred their tokens out of the exchange. So that was very, very interesting for me. And I wanted to talk to you about it and show you what is happening in here. And potentially, these can be very, very bullish signs. And we had something similar before. If you remember in Algorand, when we were around the lows, I think it was about like 10 to 11 cents. Something like that happened also in XRP when we were around 60 cents. We had whales buying and I made a video about that. So, you know, I'm gonna say something definitely interesting is going on in here, but am I going to say it with absolute certainty that whales buying in this area are going to cause a massive move on the upside? No, I don't think I'm gonna say that. However, it is definitely a bullish sign. And finally, in the previous video about QNT, I talked about potentially staking coming in on Quant, and a couple of my viewers asked some very, very solid questions, so I feel like I should answer them. So they asked, what do I think will be staking QNT rewards? 5 to 8%. I would say because now we are having Algorand, which are promising, I think it was like 6.3% rewards. It is actually going to be somewhere around those numbers. So yeah, I would say 5 to 8% definitely makes sense. But again, I want to be very clear. I don't know what are their plans and we're not at the moment at least having any official announcements. Also, you guys asked, do I think staking QNT will be safer than staking other types of cryptos? Absolutely not, for 2 very important reasons. Number 1, if we are going to have a staking on QNT, it's going to be a new thing and they are kind of late to the game. So let me ask you this question. If you want to be objective, would you prefer a staking QNT or a staking Aave? I don't know about you guys. For me, the choice is definitely Aave. And you said I always hear about risk in a staking. Definitely there are some risks, but again, I told you before, we don't really know what are their plans for a staking. For example, in Algorand, we know that rewards are going to be distributed instantly, and if you do not want to stake anymore, you can easily get your token out and you are not going to be subjected to any penalties. And that, in my opinion, is a much, much better staking program, and the risks compared to the other staking programs are actually very much low. Now the question is, what the staking program in QNT is going to look like? And again, unfortunately, we do not know anything about that. The point that I'm trying to make is this. If in QNT we are going to have a staking program, then okay, we can say overall, relative to its past, is actually a positive step towards the right direction. Now, whether the program is going to be decent or not, that's kind of up for debate, and I'm not here to shill you any QNT. I would highly suggest let's wait a bit more and see what the program looks like, and at that point we can make, I would say, better decisions. So I hope I answered your question well and you understood what is happening and what are my thoughts, and I believe that is going to be the end of today's video. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some DCNTA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next video, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.